Hello and welcome to another episode of Connecticut at your service. My name is Carmen Nieves and I am today's host. I want to first thank my team who's been stepping in for me while I've been kind of evolving in my business. You know, Lourdes, Elaine, Terry, Kathy. I think I'm missing somebody, so I apologize and Dion. So I want to thank all of them for all the times that they kind of like came through for me. So as you know, we come to you live each Tuesday right here on Connecticut at your service. And we're here to not only talk about individuals that are in the business community or the nonprofit community, but to talk about how they give back. So our goal, as always, every time that we have a guest, is to educate, empower, and engage. And today is no exception. Our guest today is Jose Velazquez, and he is the CEO of Carriage Trade Solutions, LLC. It's Velazquez, right?
No,
Jose Velazquez, right? Velazquez. I gotta be bien puertorriqueña. I got it.
Right.
I should do that better. Is the founder and chief operating officer of Carriage Trade Solutions, a managed IT services provider based right here in Bridgeport, Connecticut. With nearly a decade of hands-on experience supporting small businesses across Fairfield and New Haven counties and part of New York, Jose specializes in helping organizations secure, streamline, scale their technology without breaking the bank. Under his leadership, Carriage Trade has built a reputation for translating complex tech into plain English solutions. Thank God for that. Enabling local businesses to stay protected from cyber security threats and getting the most out of their IT experience. Jose, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How are you? Thank you so much for coming, throwing them big words in there that I have to try and figure out how do I say. So tell me a little bit about you personally, because I read all about your business.
Sure.
But we get into it always with our guests, and tell us a little bit about you.
All right. So first and foremost, I'm born on the island. I was born in Velazquez. My family is from Las Marias, right up the hill. We moved here a long time ago. I won't say when. We moved here when I was a kid, and we moved to Bridgeport. My uncle had already come here, and so we moved into a little third-floor walk-up on Boston Avenue at the time. Within the year, Mom and Dad had some pretty good jobs. Dad was at Warnaco, if you remember that.
I do remember. I don't remember seeing it, but I've heard about it.
And Mom was at DSS. Mom had a full career at DSS. She retired some years ago. Actually, that entire side of the family is all DSS. Her sister, her niece, everybody was DSS. And so, we moved here. I was raised in Bridgeport. I'm, in the east side. I went to school here. I graduated from high school here. And then, I went off to the Marine Corps and I, lived a life for about 7 years or so. And then I came back.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. And then I came back to Bridgeport. And sometime after that, I met my wife. And, we brought our families together. We've had 3 adult children who are amazing, who gave us grandkids.
There you go. So 4 right here, right? 4?
Yeah, 4 amazing grandkids who are always running around the house screaming and fighting and yelling, and I love every minute of it. And we have a son. We have a teenager together who just turned 14.
Wow.
And so we live up in Naugatuck because that's where everything was happening for her, and I didn't want to uproot her. So we've been there now since '09. But I was lucky enough to be able to move Carriage Trade Solutions down to Bridgeport, back home.
On the east side.
Yes, exactly, at the Knowlton, which is a beautiful building.
It is a beautiful building.
I have amazing neighbors at the Knowlton. I love them all. They're amazing artists, and it really it's a part of my day that really brings joy, which not a lot of folks get to say about going to work. You know?
Listen, I do. I'm just trying to pay the bills. So I have to say, you know, I like to kind of get in deep for what businesses do and how they started. Your wife is an entrepreneurial as well. You were telling me about her, and I'm like, I got to get her to my office. So
Yeah.
What's her name?
Her name is Helen.
Helen, we're going to be calling you to come to the office.
She's Greek, from Greece. And like me, she came here as a child.
Is she as loud as you?
No. She can be.
Okay,
but
all right. Because Helen, I'm gonna get you hooked up.
There is a bit of a yin and yang there, though. I have an outsized personality.
Yeah, me too.
And she's not a shrinking violet, but she's much more reserved than I am. So
just let her know. She's expect a call.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think so let's talk about kind of how we met. And you're like a master at this, right? You came into my office the other day. You remembered me, and I'm like, wait. He's like, Carmen, I saw you like 2 weeks ago. It's like, oh my God, it's just way too much going on. So I know that for you, one of the biggest, and we've talked about kind of like, now you've got your business, but what next? But I want to kind of take a step back and really talk about kind of the things that you talk about are kind of like the trademark to your success, especially with the type of work that you do and getting, people earning their respect and trust and all of that. You're like a master networker. So tell me a little bit, because that's actually how we met.
So I've had a number of different sort of careers over the years. I'm a high school graduate. I did set foot at Gateway Community College for a little while.
I drove by it a little bit.
That was it. But I learned early on the importance of relationship building. Okay. You can hawk your wares until the cows come home. You can stand on a corner selling whatever widgets you're making or whatever talents you may have and not make a single sale because you're not building a relationship in that instance, right? One of the most important things I learned years ago was, you work on relationships and the business will come. And so that has been sort of my mantra all these years, from working at a contract security company where there was a lot of face-to-face networking and business development and trust building, right? And that's kind of where I took my cues. There's a gentleman by the name of Rob Thomas who was up here in Connecticut a few years ago who does that. He's a networking expert and teaches folks how to do that. One of the most important things that, and to this day I carry that with me, it's 2 rules that I use, is making sure that you know who it is that you need to meet, right? In any given situation, you're not going to say, well, I want to talk to somebody in purchasing and I want to talk to somebody in charge of IT. No, I want to talk to Bill Smith, who is running your server farm or whatever. And the other part was to vet your network, right? You're making connections and building relationships and lending your reputation, right, along every connection of that network. And so it's important that you have a good understanding and that you've built a trust with the folks that you're meeting with, that you're lending your reputation to when you refer them to colleagues. When
they expect the same thing too.
When you make connections, right? And so it's very important. And so that's been a huge piece to the success of Carriage Trade Solutions, is those lessons that I learned early on about networking, about effective networking, about building trust in that network, and maintaining those relationships. And forming them before you need them. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, people don't like to be like, oh, now I've known you for whatever. Now right. Because don't have a space to hold your meeting. Now you come looking for me.
The number one thing that I will tell folks who ask me, because I have this conversation often, actually, and the number one thing that I tell them is that they have to really work at establishing their expertise,
Their
their
niche,
level of
their-
knowledge, and don't come in and sell, right? If you come in and sell, you're going to have the normal, strikeout, maybe this person calls. But if you focus on being the person in the room that people go to when they have questions, right? When there's something that they don't understand and they go to you and they say, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? And you have that conversation and you don't talk about what you're selling, I promise you, they're going to come back.
Yeah.
They're going to come back.
I have like a lot of people because I've been in kind of like the nonprofit field. I came from workforce development, and
That's where we met.
We've been, and you were at a round table,
Right, yeah, it
that
was
my
one of Joe's
office
round
had,
tables,
and
yeah.
I was telling, and I told you then,
Yeah.
like I told you now, that I didn't know a lot of, like I really don't 100% understand what it is that you do, but one thing struck me is that when we were talking, we're like, listen, you've done your due diligence. You got your LLC, you licensed your business, you got your EIN. Now what? And I looked at you with a straight face because they're like, what do you mean? What's next?
Yeah.
And you were talking about kind of like the back office.
Right.
So I think that that's really kind of important for small businesses that are trying. And I will tell you, doing business in Connecticut and Bridgeport, it's expensive.
It's not easy.
It's really, really
not easy.
expensive, and it's hard to always do the right thing. But then just like you were saying, like do the right thing, give somebody a referral. One of the things that we talked about when you were at my office, we're like, if something's not too big for me, listen, let me go in my phone and let me get you somebody that does that. So what I want to do is before we go on to the
Sure.
1,200 other questions I have,
Of course.
there's a slide that we have that
Okay.
just helps you explain what the services are that small
Okay.
businesses need, because I think that, when we talk about staffing and call-ins and all of that, and make sure I don't forget to ask you about the DOT.
Oh, yes, of course.
So tell me a little bit about Carriage Trade Solutions.
Well, so let me tell you what MSPs do, all right? And in the broadest sense, a managed service provider takes over a function of business for the business owner that they don't have expertise in. It's why you go to a bookkeeper, for example. You go to somebody to handle your phone system or your camera system or what have you. And the service provider, the managed service provider, takes ownership of those functions for the business. Reporting, of course, to the business owner, but in the end, managing all of those functions of that area that the business owner doesn't have expertise in. Every business owner needs bookkeeping, needs accounting, needs internet, needs phones.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so
And
that's
on and on
that's
and on.
where managed services shines, because what we do for a fraction of the total cost of employment of someone working for you as an employee.
So like
Right.
a subcontractor.
Exactly.
Okay.
And specifically, what an IT MSP does, what Carriage Trade Solutions does, is we take over everything that has to do with your technology, with cybersecurity, with data security, with your hardware, your equipment, your vendors, right? Your internet provider, your phone provider. We handle all of that for you from a place of being a representative of your company to, in all those functions. And we do that in a way that a lot of small business owners, and I'd like to make a distinction here, because the conversation you and I have been talking about, have been having over the last few days, is really about micro enterprise, right?
Small businesses.
Very, very small
Yeah.
businesses, right? We're talking about solopreneurs, sole proprietors, one or two people sort of, kicking things off, right? Where revenue is still not at a level where you may be able to engage fully a comprehensive, managed service.
The talent
right.
that you need to really make it flow the way you need to.
And so, in the end, you focus on getting the information and the knowledge from these connections, right, that will enable you as a business owner to be secure, to have the right equipment, to have equipment that gets the job done for you. That need doesn't go away because it's just you.
Yeah.
You still have data that needs to be cared for.
And it gets put on the back burner, and until
Right.
something happens.
Right, exactly.
Oh my God.
Exactly.
Then you're like, oh my God, I needed this. But I want to go back to the slide.
Sure.
And I want you to just touch, not a lot, but just touch on when you talk about help desk, what does that mean? What is it that you're,
All right, so
systems administrator? Because I don't understand.
So very briefly, these functions are the functions that, when I say enterprise, I mean huge companies, global corporations, Xerox, GE, that sort of thing. That they have all of these functions in-house for what they do.
Right.
They have 2 or 3 individuals waiting on the phone to take, to give support over the phone. That's your help desk, right? When you call for help and you can't figure something out in Outlook, something isn't working right in Windows, you pick up the phone, you call the help desk, right? Your systems and your network administrator is more behind the scenes, dealing with the equipment that's keeping your network safe, right? Your firewall, your switches. For a small business, for a micro enterprise, that might just be a router, right? The Wi-Fi router that they need to get out to the world, and we handle all of that with the same level of service that you would get to a much larger corporation,
from a big company.
And we do that in a way that that doesn't break the bank for small businesses.
So, solution architect.
So
you're gonna have to explain it.
Sure. So a solutions architect is a fancy way of saying, guy who knows how to set up the equipment that you need, right?
In the way that I need it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So, for example, we would sit down. This is a situation where if we were, doing AV stuff, which we don't, but we would sit with the client and we would talk about what their needs are as far as their, what kind of cameras they need, what is the cabling that is going to best serve the remote feed on those cameras, the monitors, the lights. That is a solutions architect is going to take the equipment that you need and put it together in a way that functions to benefit your business.
And that somebody layman's terms can maneuver, can use
right,
it
exactly. And that's important too. Education is important. One of the most important things that we make sure that we're doing at Carriage Trade Solutions is when we're on the phone with a user, we're not fixing their problem. We're enabling the user. We're empowering the user. We're teaching them. Oftentimes, what they need is knowledge, not a problem fixed, right? The days,
fix it, but then explain to me what's happening behind it so I know.
The days are gone where people sit and play with their computers and figure out Windows, and that's not a thing anymore. It's long gone. It's a tool that people need to do their job, and so you do have different levels of users who need a certain amount of expertise one way or the other.
Systems integration is just you putting it all together, right?
Right. So system integration is bringing together different types of tools. Getting your relationship management platform working with your accounting platform and working with a ticketing platform, that sort of thing.
And staffing augmentation?
Staff augmentation is, providing the on-site support for a client who is going to want to have someone there a certain number of hours a week,
Okay,
or
got you. Okay.
So
so before you have your own staff, you guys would help them kind of develop an overall plan. right?
Yes,
for,
of course.
for their equipment, what is it that they need,
Yes.
how does it function?
Yeah. Yep.
You know, is it something that the person can do themselves once you teach them? Is
Right.
it something that they're like, I just can't,
Right.
can't, I need somebody here,
Yeah,
X number of hours
there will
to do
be
that.
there's going to be tasks that we're going to empower the users to do themselves. The ability to shut down an app that isn't responding and then start it back up. That's not magic. It's not something that
It's
that
magic
we
to some
hide,
people.
And so we do teach folks that, and I recently had a client mystified that they had access to the task manager in Windows because their previous IT provider never taught them.
So you are such a wealth of talent, and you have such information. You're willing to educate people. But before the show started, we were talking about little tips that businesses can use until they're ready for or can afford to have somebody. One of those things, I was looking at your doc, because my doc doesn't work.
Okay.
And you were like, no, it's like, and you said,
Yeah.
Pay me. You
So
said as simple as pay me.
So form over function, right? If you go to someone who isn't, I hate tech savvy. I don't do well with computers, right? But if you go to someone who has a not such a high level of proficiency with technology, it's just a tool after all.
Yeah.
And you ask them where the NFC sensor on their phone is, you're going to get a blank stare, right?
Like I just gave you.
And that's how this band works. This is just a coil of wires. There's no battery, there's no power, there's no nothing. This is a passive sensor, and when you take your phone's NFC sensor, right, near field communication, it's a secure way to start a network connection. It will bring up a website that you go to and get my contact information. This works to supplement the business card that I hand out. I always do both, because if I give you this and you save it to your phone and you walk away, you forget that I'm even there.
That's
So
true.
that's why the card is important.
That's happened before, yeah.
So what do I do?
And your card is thick too. I was like, that's pretty thick, and you look at mine, and I printed it myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's businesses, and one of the things we talked about also is that dynamics of how people work today has changed.
Sure.
So technology is so important. What people want is to be able to reach. I want to be able to reach the company I'm trying to reach. I don't care where you are.
Right.
And you were talking about how you can configure phones and lines and things like that to do that.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's awesome, because people just want to reach me.
Right.
They don't care where I'm at. I could
Right.
be in the car,
Yeah.
I could be shopping. That so much has changed.
Yeah, there's a ton of stuff out there that helps you gain control a lot of these things as a solopreneur, as a small business owner, where you may not have a full-blown phone system. You can go with a phone app, right? And that's right on your cell phone. You don't have to go and spend extra anything.
And Google does that too.
Yes.
Look at that, we have a call.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for calling Connecticut at your service. You have a question for our guests?
Hi, my name is Chanel. I do have a question.
Hi, what's the question?
So I am an upcoming entrepreneur, and I wanted to know your advice on how to start that business. I want to know how you help people do that.
How to start?
How do you help people start a business?
Well, I mean, I have my experience that I draw on, and I will always sit down with, with hopeful entrepreneurs, with folks who are looking to get that sort of spark, that kick, to get started. And so I will always sit down and share, what we did, the things the tools that helped us, like, the phone app, so we didn't have to get a phone system.
I know you give referrals, because when we sat down, you're like, I don't do that, but let me
I think I think that building a strong network is probably one of the most important things as an up and coming business owner or entrepreneur. The ability to be able to draw on that network to help build your business, but then to also connect folks in your network is huge.
And there's so many ways, Janelle, to start and structure your business that that Jose comes in, and once you started it, how do we get you operational? How do we set up your systems, your technology?
Right.
So you can work from anywhere. You can have somebody that helps you. Excuse me. Somebody that helps you. And just being able to just have the questions about, listen, I don't want to understand it. I just want my computer to work.
Right. Yeah. No, there's. Listen, I will always meet you where you live.
Okay.
Right. In the sense that I'm not going to necessarily drag you up here for no good reason. We'll meet here, and you'll understand, what is going on, and what how that helps you or hurts you.
Thank you, Janelle. Did you have another question?
No. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you for calling and
Thank
keep
you.
watching. So, Jose, we're running out of time.
Yeah,
we
of
maybe
course.
have like 2 minutes.
I'm sorry.
So, is there anybody
I
that
ramble.
kind of, no, and I love it. We covered a lot that I think that people really, to get there, like, this is what I need from my business, really need to meet with you.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
could you tell people how they would contact you?
So the easiest thing to do is visit our website, carriagetradesolutions.com. You click on Get in Touch, and there is a web form that you submit your questions through, your desire for me to get in touch with you or what have you. It's that way for a reason. You mentioned that.
Yeah, 'cause I
you
was
don't
like-
have your phone number. You know.
Not even a picture of who you are.
Or email, right? And that's on purpose because we want to keep data scrapers from feeding stuff into
Like spamming your name and
spam
stuff?
systems, right?
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we
I got
do
my
that.
name and number over everything. Damn, now I got to
Yeah,
take
I
it
mean,
all down.
it is a little bit of an outdated practice. I will say that. I'll take that one on the chin. But you do things a certain way for a while, and you
it
keep
makes
doing
sense.
it. But this way, that form is a call to action that says, if you need me, you can reach me right through this.
Or somebody on your team, because
yeah.
I know, like, we have an email and another staff member picks up
Yes,
that email.
correct. Yep.
But before I forget, we got to make this quick because we have less than
yeah.
a minute. I really want you to tell me about your Friends of Anne's Place, because
Oh, gosh.
we're going to show your flyer.
right, okay.
That has to be like a super quick story.
Okay.
Because we have like maybe a minute.
All right, so
I love this. I love this picture.
Anne's Place in Danbury provides resources for families of cancer survivors and the cancer patients themselves at no cost, fully donation funded, and through fundraising. My photo in this slide is from an event called Through the Lens, where we posed for portraits that were used to raise funds
As a
at
survivor.
a dinner as a cancer survivor myself. And it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite pictures of me. Actually, I love
we
that.
didn't have a lot of time. Because this is such a great story.
Sure.
But that picture was taken in your kitchen.
Yes.
I love that because you sent me such a very techie, and then you sent me like a very casual photo, and I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
So listen, we are out of time. Jose, you have been amazing.
It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for sharing your resources. And just like we do every week, please continue to watch, and we'll see you next time right here on Connecticut at your service.